Let us begin with the big picture. Spring Boot security is not one magic checkbox, and it is not only a login form. It is a chain of decisions that starts with identity and ends with whether a request should be trusted, rejected, or redirected. A lot of confusion in backend teams comes from mixing up the security layers. Authentication is the question of who the user is. Authorization is the question of what that user is allowed to do. Those are different problems, and Spring Security handles them differently. JWT adds another layer because it changes how a logged-in identity is carried across requests. Role-based access adds another because it turns business policy into code. Best practices matter because a secure system can still be broken by bad token storage, weak password hashing, or overly permissive endpoint rules. So in this guide we are going to keep the mental model simple, but not shallow. We will move from the foundation to the details: how Spring Security works, how JWT fits into the picture, how roles and authorities control access, and what you should do to keep a Spring Boot app secure in production instead of just looking secure in a demo. The most important security concept in backend development is also the simplest. Authentication and authorization are not the same thing. Authentication proves identity. Authorization checks permissions. In a Spring Boot app, authentication is what happens when the system verifies a username and password, validates a JWT, or accepts some other trusted identity proof. Authorization is what happens after that, when the app decides whether this authenticated identity may call a certain endpoint, perform a certain action, or access a certain object. The reason this distinction matters so much is that many security bugs happen when developers assume that being logged in is enough. It is not. A user can be authenticated and still be blocked from an admin dashboard, an internal API, or a sensitive account record. Spring Security lets you keep those layers separate, which is exactly what you want. The more precise you are with this separation, the easier it becomes to reason about your access rules, and the harder it becomes for a broken client or malicious request to slip through on a technicality. Spring Security is the part of the stack that actually enforces the rules. It is easy to think of it as just the library that gives you a login page, but that is a tiny slice of what it does. Under the hood, Spring Security runs a filter chain in front of your application logic. Each incoming request passes through those filters before your controller method is even reached. That is where identity is extracted, tokens are parsed, passwords are checked, the security context is built, and authorization rules are applied. This is why concepts like security filter chain, user details service, and password encoder matter. They are the moving parts that let the framework securely decide whether a request should continue. If the request is missing identity, has a bad token, or does not match the required permissions, the chain stops it. That is the right behavior. Security should fail closed. If the framework cannot prove the request is allowed, it should reject it rather than trying to be helpful. Once you understand that Spring Security is the enforcement layer, the rest of the configuration starts to make much more sense. JWT is one of the most common parts of a Spring Boot security stack, and also one of the most misunderstood. A JWT is not a session database, not a permission engine, and not a magical security product. It is a signed token that carries claims. Typically those claims describe who the user is, when the token expires, and sometimes what roles or scopes the user has. The key value of JWT is that the backend can verify the signature without storing a traditional session record for each request. That makes it attractive for distributed systems and APIs. But there is a trade-off. Because the token is stateless, the server may not know about it after issuance unless you add revocation logic or a session store. That means the token format itself does not solve logout, account disablement, or accidental leakage. Those concerns have to be designed separately. So when you use JWT in Spring Boot, you should think of it as a transport mechanism for identity and claims, not as a complete security strategy. The token is only as safe as your signing keys, expiry policy, storage approach, and authorization checks. A secure JWT flow in Spring Boot is more than just verifying a password and returning a token. The full path matters. First, the user sends credentials. Then Spring Security validates those credentials through your authentication provider and password encoder. If they are correct, the backend issues an access token and usually a refresh token as well. After that, the access token is attached to later requests and verified on every call by the filter chain. That means the authentication step is repeated in a stateless way on each request, even though the user does not have to log in again each time. If you add refresh tokens, you also need rotation and server-side tracking so a stolen refresh token does not become a permanent backdoor. The most important practical idea here is that login is only the beginning. The rest of the security model is about how long a token remains valid, where it is stored, how it is validated, and how quickly you can stop it from working if something goes wrong. That is why short-lived access tokens and careful refresh handling are such common best practices. Role-based access control is the point where security becomes business policy. Authentication says who the person is. JWT can carry the identity. But roles and authorities say what the person may do. In Spring Boot, you might protect an endpoint with a role like admin, or you might use a more detailed authority for a specific action such as approving a payment, deleting a record, or accessing an internal operation. The important thing is that access should be explicit. Do not assume the front end will hide a button and therefore the backend is safe. Do not assume a user cannot guess a URL. Do not assume that because one endpoint is protected, a similar endpoint will also be protected automatically. With method security, you can move some of these checks closer to the business logic, which is useful when a decision depends on the actual object or operation being performed. The more important the action, the more you want the rule written down in code rather than implied in a comment or hidden in a client-side screen. A lot of Spring Boot security incidents are not caused by exotic attacks. They are caused by ordinary mistakes. One common mistake is trusting the front end too much. Another is storing tokens in a way that makes them easy to steal. Another is skipping object-level authorization, which is how broken access control and IDOR-style bugs happen. The request looks valid. The user looks authenticated. But the backend never checks whether that user actually owns the record being accessed. That is a classic failure mode. Another frequent issue is weak password handling or inconsistent password hashing, where the application treats credential storage as an afterthought. The deeper lesson is that security is never just one layer. A token can be valid and the request can still be wrong. The screen can look protected and the backend can still be open. A role can exist and still not be applied to the right operation. So when you review code, think in terms of where the real enforcement happens and whether it is actually checking the thing you care about: identity, ownership, permission, and expiration. Let us finish with the simplest version of the best practices list. Keep access tokens short-lived. Rotate refresh tokens. Enforce authorization in the backend, not only in the user interface. Check object ownership when users touch their own data. Sanitize logs and error messages so you are not leaking secrets while debugging. Keep your password handling strong and consistent. And if a rule is important, write it clearly enough that another developer can understand it during review. That is what good security architecture looks like in practice. It does not try to be clever. It tries to be obvious, durable, and hard to bypass. In Spring Boot, the best security systems are the ones where the login flow, the token flow, and the access control rules are all easy to reason about. If you can explain the flow from authentication to authorization to role checks without hand-waving, you are already much closer to a secure production system than most teams realize.